Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of On the Couch with Creatives. As you know by now, we are part of the Creatives Group, a private network for creative professionals everywhere. We seek to help support, develop, and grow your creative businesses together. But this is On the Couch, so without further ado, Julie, who do we have on the couch today?
Hi, hello, welcome to On the Couch again. On the couch, we have David John Clark, who is an actor and a podcaster. He's based in Adelaide in Australia, and he got his first taste of acting quite young in life as an extra on Star Wars Attack of the Clones. So he's worked with the great George Lucas. And then he went off and, did the normal things in life. And when he hit his 40s, David began various acting training courses because he suddenly realized he wanted to be an actor. So, of course, he was a late bloomer, and his podcast is called The Late Bloomer Actor, and he's become a well-known and respected actor in Australia, film and television. Welcome to On the Couch, David.
Good evening, ladies, and everyone watching or listening.
Well, for us, it's morning, and for you, it's getting on late at night. So let's kick off with, first of all, tell us about your first film roles when you were a much younger man.
Yeah, I just transferred in my public service job to Sydney because I wanted to get out of. I started in the public service in a small town called Alice Springs in the Northern Territory, which is where I finished high school. So I wanted to get to the big smoke and the big city, and transferred to Sydney. And I had a mate who was in the job who did a lot of extra work as well. And I thought, that's great. I loved movies, and I thought this would be great. Get on set, see what happens, and maybe meet some stars. And just signed up with an extras agency, and there we go. I just did a heap of extra work while I was in Sydney for a few years. Loved it.
You make it sound so easy.
For extras, it is, especially in Sydney at the time. That was around the making of Matrix and Star Wars were the big ones. I didn't get on Matrix, unfortunately, as much as that was a great movie, but I'd done a few TV roles and adverts and stuff like that, just as an extra in the background. And then when they brought Star Wars to Fox Studios, like everyone else, I was just really excited. I had to get on there. And a funny little story for that, I rang the agency and said, guys, I'd love to get on Star Wars. What's the go? And they said to me, they're really looking for different looking people, people with not attractive people and weird looks. And I went, okay, well, I'll take that as a compliment. And then 2 days later, they rang me and they said, we need you to do Star Wars. So, now I'm conflicted.
That should be told at that age that you're not a good looking one. That's why we want you.
Yeah, a bit of both. But 1 minute I thought I couldn't get on because it was too good looking, and then I got on. So there we go. But
well, that slapped down your ego, I'm sure.
Yeah, very quickly.
So what role did you play?
It was defined as a freighter captain. So no name, just a freighter captain. All I had to do was it was a scene when the princess was being escorted back by the Darth Vader to be before he turned to the dark side. Being escorted back to her home planet after an assassination attempt. So Natalie Portman, I was 24 and I was working on set with Natalie Portman.
I love her.
Yes, awesome actress and a very nice person. And her scene, they were walking across an apron, and I was just a freighter captain carrying a box with another guy and walked right in front of them. And R2-D2 was there, and that was it. So very fleeting and very quick.
Oh, you just walked across the camera?
Exactly, yeah. Nice and easy. And it's so quick on screen that if you know me and you know my gait, my walking style, you can pick me. And if you pause it at the right moment, you can tell it's me.
I'm going to go back and watch it now. Freeze frame.
Movie, just to get that fleeting walk past.
Very quick. It's very quick. But it was a whole day's work. I got to meet Natalie Portman, and I got to talk to George Lucas. He actually came to me on the side of the set and gave me direction about how he wanted it done and at what pace. So I've been directed by the great George Lucas. So that was the start of my acting career. So.
Well, that's definitely something to boast about. And what other roles did you play at that time?
And so I did a lot of TV stuff. So a TV show called All Saints, which is big in Australia. Now, I know you guys in England love our soaps, so I don't know whether you get it there, but obviously Neighbours is in Melbourne, so I never did Neighbours. I never did Home and Away, which I don't know if you guys are big on Home and Away.
That was a biggie over here, yeah.
But I didn't get on there. But yeah, a few TV series that were in Sydney, adverts, and a few movies that were made. And I also did remember a big one. It was an American bank ad. I think it was I'm trying to remember the name of the bank now, but an American bank that filmed at the town centre in Sydney. It was when the Australian dollar was so good and everything came to Sydney to film.
But so then you obviously left that kind of work, didn't you, and just became an ordinary person?
She's stealing all my questions. Can I get a bloody word in, Julie? I'd like to actually ask a question. Can you just be quiet? Thank you.
Okay, right. I'm now
Julie, shut up. I'll just go and get a cup of tea.
You get the next question,
I'm just
Melanie.
finding it very interesting. Okay, so David, I'm now going to pass you over to my fellow partner in crime so she can ask a question.
I love it that you're fighting over me now.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to steal my question. It was the same question.
Soak it up.
Yeah, just the same question, because obviously, you had a whale of a time on these movies, and I can imagine, yes, Star Wars, I would have been, yes, absolutely. Why did you decide to walk away from that and go back into the civil service?
Well, obviously I was still working there, and what happened is I met a wonderful woman, my wife today, Kelly, and then so we got married in '99, and then in 2001 we had our first child, and I wasn't going to bring up our child or our children, that it turned out, in a 2-bedroom flat at Coogee in Sydney. So we put in for a transfer to come to Adelaide, which is where Kelly's parents lived. Much easier society to buy a house and cheaper, and obviously we had family backup. So we got that transfer and came to Adelaide, and Adelaide's Adelaide. It's not the movie central like Sydney was, and just never thought about it. I actually, no, I lie a little bit. I did think about it. I went into an agency here, said, hey, I want to sign up as an extra. It's a different industry here. They don't have extra only agencies. They have normal acting agencies. The acting industry then in Adelaide was pretty small. And I remember going into this agency and I was sitting in their little couch there. All I want to do was sign up as an extra. And the agent, I won't say the name or anything, of course, but she's come out and she's just looked at me on the couch, which is funny, we're on the couch now, but she's looked at me on the couch, looked me up and down. She said, oh, sorry, we don't have a place for you here.
Based purely on these ugly looks of yours.
Yes, she must have known I was a Star Wars character. So I've tail between my legs. I've left the building and didn't do anything about it for another 10 years or more. Mm.
That's pretty brutal, though, isn't it? Looking you up and down and saying no.
It was, and I remember it so distinctly. And I'm pretty good. I can take anything, and I didn't think too much of it. I said, oh well, it was what it was. Her loss, their loss, and I just never thought about it until later on when they were making a couple of big movies here, and that's when I was just turning 40 and decided, hey, let's give it another go.
Okay,
well, but that's soul crushing. I think the acting industry must be soul crushing because the rejection you have to put up with.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this a lot on my podcasts for a lot of actors, and that because in no industry in the world do you receive so much rejection. I mean, if you're applying for a job, okay, so you might have to apply for a job a few times and do the job interviews, and you don't get successful, and eventually you're going to get the job wherever. But with acting, it doesn't. It's continual rejection after rejection. Then you get a job, so you go away and you do that feature film or that advert or whatever. But meanwhile, you're still doing auditions, which are these job interviews, and 99% of them are no thank you. Well, you actually don't even get told no, you just don't hear back from them. So it can be pretty tough.
See, that's the part I would hate. I like feedback. And if I haven't done something or got so, I like to know why, so that I can improve or change or do something. So that it wouldn't suit me, I don't think, Because
It's tough.
I'd want to know exactly why.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
very tough.
so sorry, I keep interrupting you. I beg your pardon.
You go.
I love it.
I've finished.
Oh, right. So then you heard that these movies were being made in Adelaide. So how did you get in? How did you overcome that first rejection?
Well, I went to a different agency, and an agency called Actors Inc. here in Adelaide, and did the same thing. Went in, signed up on their extras book. They took my photo, and I was on the books. And they said, "Oh, we need you to come in and do a one evening course, just so we can tell you how things work, and we'll get you to do some camera work." I said, "Oh, cool, that's awesome." And then they said, "Look, if you're interested, we run acting classes here. We do 4 terms over the year. You can do 1 or all 4 and work our way through." We progressed to the basics of acting, and then they did some theatre stuff, and then acting for film, and then show reels at the end. I said, "Okay, I'll give it a go. It might raise me up a ladder, a couple of steps on the ladder as an extra." And that first term that we did, I was on with a bunch of awesome actors. And another actor that I've interviewed on my podcast who was my age as well, a late bloomer, who was coming out of her shell and taking a chance. And we just loved it. And I decided, you know what, this is fun. And I ended up doing all 4 terms. And the rest is history. I've taken the acting on as to professionally do it, even though I'm still working full-time as a public servant, because I need to pay the bills. And that's where we're at today.
And what most recent parts have you played?
I'm doing mainly student films at the moment. I've done a few auditions, but just not quite crossing over yet. It's very difficult in Adelaide. It's not Sydney. It's not the Gold Coast where all the big feature films are made. And I'm not a full-time actor. So the problem with acting is that it's like the chicken or the egg. Mm. So to get a good role, you need credits behind you in good productions, and to get in good productions, you need good credits. So, how do you get either way? It's very difficult. So it's a hard slog.
And I imagine it's a timing thing as well, because these things can come up at the most random times. And if you've got to be there, you've got to be there. And if you've got a full-time job, you can't always just walk away and say, well, I've got to spend 6 weeks over here or 2 weeks over here, or however long they need you for. And in the movie industry, they kind of dictate, don't they? It's like, you're here or you're not. End of. There's no negotiating.
Yeah, and I take that on board as an actor, and I understand that. And I've said a few times on my podcast that I'm hanging out for retirement, because when I retire, I'll be free to do whatever is necessary and go wherever. And I'll have my tidy pension, and all these years I've been working towards retirement, and it'll be there for me. So I won't have that holding me back, so to speak. So, but it's the nature of acting. Acting is tough, and it is a really tough industry to get into, especially in Australia, because it's such a small industry for anybody, whether they're straight out of drama school or a late bloomer like myself.
Well, at least you've got playing the grizzly, grumpy old man to look forward to.
Yes, yeah, and I'm getting the grey beard going, so I can do the Sean Connery look, maybe, if I can get the accent down. But
oh, yes, absolutely. So what made you decide to start a podcast about this particular subject?
It was interesting because I listen to a lot of podcasts for acting now, because the information is great. But here in Adelaide, as part of my acting and what I've done, I started up a Facebook page, just to network with other actors. It's actually when I was doing the training, I set up a page just to have everyone together, and it expanded from there. And I like to share my journey and what I've learned with others, my mistakes and things that I've learned. That's why I set up the page. And I thought, why not do the same with the podcast? And I came up with the branding for Late Bloomer because I actually tried to raise some money through a crowdfunding once, because I was successful in getting a scholarship for a one-year drama program that was being run here in Adelaide. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to raise enough funds to make it work for myself. But as part of that fundraising, I called it the Late Bloomer Actor. And I went, well, there's a brand, there's some branding right there. And I'm the Late Bloomer Actor, and that's my journey. So I decided, well, how about we start a podcast to meet other actors who are in the same boat, as well as to talk to industry people about late bloomers and acting in general, to share and learn from each other. So that's how that all works.
So people can follow you on Facebook and they can subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yes. So I've got all the channels. So I have an acting page for myself. So David John Clark Actor. I have on Facebook as well as Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube. And now that I'm running the podcast, I've reciprocated those pages. So there's a Late Bloomer Actor podcast page on Facebook.
You're on a lot of podcast platforms. A lot.
Trying. Like I said, it's like you ladies doing your business. It's that you've got to take it professionally, and you've got to reach out so people can find you. So you can't just have one niche market. You've really got to find all those markets and let people, because everyone likes a different platform. So
you've got to show up, haven't you, really, and just show up in as many places as possible. We totally agree, and that's what we're doing with our live stream. We're going to probably put this out as a podcast sometime next year, as audio only, because we've done some absolutely fantastic episodes, haven't we, Julie? And it really does need to be, I think, repurposed into an audio only podcast. So that's something we're going to be looking at next year. On the Couch will continue as a visual as well, and you can find us pretty much all over the place, including TikTok when I remember to do it.
So tell us about the sort of people that you are attracting as guests on your podcast.
Well, I'm focusing on, I've written it as to talk to fellow late bloomer actors and industry. So I've just finished my first year. I'm only doing it monthly. So I do it as a late bloomer thing. So if you think about actors in my style who've got a full-time job and that, we do everything monthly. So we sign up for monthly drama classes and monthly workshops and that, because we can't do weekly things, or because we can't afford it, or we just don't have the time. So my podcast has to be the same. So I've done 12 episodes now. I've just done our Christmas end of season special, which was brought some guests back. So I've had a mixture of fellow actors that I know either locally or interstate. I've had a casting director on that's my mentor. So we chatted to him about acting in general and what us oldies need to do to try and be seen and to get over that hurdle, so to speak, and a teacher and stuff like that. So that's where we're at for the first year, and the sky's the limit.
So obviously worth actors listening to your podcast, because the kernels of wisdom and experience that they can pick up just from listening to people in the business. Definitely.
And that's like with any podcast or any information, the same as what you ladies are doing. You're bringing in people that have something to share their own story. And it's wonderful because everyone's different. So with mine's a bit more niche, it's with actors. But if you look at your creatives, the scope of who you can talk to is great, because everyone's got their own story, and it doesn't matter who you listen to. Some of the creatives you've already interviewed can listen to me. They don't have anything to do with acting, but they're going to take something away, as much as I've taken stuff away from your previous guests as well. So yeah, and that's what I love about it, is that people listen not just because they're an actor or they're not an actor, but they'll take something away.
Yeah, we all have a different view of the world, and we all have different experiences, and I think it's experience that is really important. And that's why we love giving our top tips on this show, because people coming up can take these tips from whoever we've spoken to, and some will resonate, some might not, but some will, and they'll stick. And if one person goes away and acts on that piece of advice and progresses their career or their development, my job is done as far as I'm concerned. That's what we love. And because we have different people, with creatives, we have sometimes we can find the business end of things quite difficult. So we do encourage into our group not just creatives, but people who support the creative industries, people who can provide that backup and tell you how you run a business, how you monetize it, how you get the best out of it. Because providing peace, love and joy to the world is all very well and fantastic, but not if you're bankrupt under a bridge somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
And
we have to eat as well as provide the joy, don't we?
And it's great because there's a lot of people out there that don't want to be an actor, but they love actors, and that's what casting directors are. They love actors, and a lot of them started out as actors and went, I don't really want to do this, but I love the world, so that's why they do that. And you guys have already interviewed some people that who support authors and help them publish books, etc., etc. They couldn't write a book if someone told them to. Like I couldn't, but to be able to help an author and to say, this is how we're going to promote you, and this is how we're going to market you, and this is what you need to be doing. Or if you're a painter, this is what you need to be doing, and this is where you need to be networking, etc., etc. So the scope is endless. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I'm involved in the People's Book Prize, which is an internet book competition, global book competition, and there are no judges. The public actually vote for their favorite books, and it's amazing. I've met so many wonderful authors. We have several authors in our private creatives membership group, and you're absolutely right. You get to know so many people in just so many facets of so many creative industries. So Melanie and I are just absolutely thoroughly enjoying this journey we're on, aren't we, Melanie?
Oh, it's fantastic meeting so many creative people. I'm in my element. I love it. I love meeting creative people and developing people as well, because I think that's really important. As I say, you've kind of gone through a curve of being an actor and getting the taste of Star Wars when you were younger and thinking, that's great. And then, of course, obviously, life morphs and changes. You get married and you have kids, and then you have to be the stable family guy and provide and do all that kind of stuff. But when your passion's kind of in your soul and you know what you want to do, coming out again when you've got the experience, the life experience. I think life experience is hugely important. I mean, I'm not trying to knock education. Education is important, but life experience, once you get to a point in your life where you have kind of been through it, you've lived it, and you can bring that richness of character to your roles or richness of character to your writing, I think us oldies have a lot to offer, personally.
Yes, most definitely. And it's funny because I've done a lot of research on late bloomers since I started the podcast. And, there's actually a New York bestseller who wrote the book Late Bloomer, and I hopefully can get him on the podcast one day. But he says it's big in America because in America, they say if you haven't made it by the time you've come out of senior school, you've lost it. If you look at all your sports people and everything they do in America is to focus on young people. And if you don't make it by a certain age, you're an old hack and you're done. But he focuses on how many people have made it so big in later in life. So even the author of Harry Potter, she wrote those books.
She's in her 40s. She's in her 40s.
Yeah.
She was in her 40s.
She's a late bloomer author.
Yeah. And if you look at there's a big long list of people that have achieved fabulous things and wealth and success in later life. And I think that the head of what was his name? The guy who did Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think he was in his 60s when that franchise
70s, wasn't he? Colonel Sanders?
Colonel Sanders, 60s or 70s when that 70s, really took off. And if you actually look through history, the big names that really made it when they put themselves on the map, so they were all 40s, 50s, 60s, some older than that. There's a big long list, and I'll have to see if I can dig it out and publish it. But it's you're not finished if you haven't made it by the time you're 30, not at all.
Definitely, and that's what I try to promote, and to get people, because a lot of people, you'll see it a lot, especially for acting. I'm too old to do that. I wanted to do it when I was a kid, and and I couldn't because I had to go. Mum wanted me to become a lawyer, or I had to do this, or I had to pay the bills. Or I got married, and everything went in a different direction. But then they say, now I'm in a position I can do stuff, but I'm too old. No, you're not. Just go and work it, make it happen. Because if you don't need to rely on it, then you have a freedom as well. The old adage of actors working as waiters and waitresses and stuff like that. Well, if you've got some stuff behind you, don't have that to worry about. You can really focus on your craft and make it work.
Yeah.
I've even joined a local ANDRAM because I decided, you know what, I think I'd like to tread the boards and see what it feels like. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I mean, as a total amateur, I'm absolutely loving it. But I'm not going professional. I'm just saying that I also decided I'd like to become an actor later in life.
But it's good. It's good. I mean, even just anybody watching this, doing this, or if you've got the desire to try, amateur dramatics is quite a good place to start. We have extras agencies in this country, in England as well. I mean, I don't know whether we do have agencies that are specifically just for extras. If you are one and want to come and talk to us and tell us all about it, get in touch. But, you know, there are ways and ways to get into the acting industry when you're older. You know, you don't have to just give up and say, well, I'm too old because I didn't do it when I was in my 20s, or I'm not trained in it. You know, I haven't been through RADA, so I can't get on the stage. And of course you can. Anyway, as long as you've got the wherewithal to give it a go, I think that's the first thing, isn't it? You've got to be prepared to give it a go.
Exactly. And what's the worst that can happen? You know, you're in the background of a movie and you never do it again. You know, no one can get hurt here.
What do you feel about getting a thicker skin as you get older, David?
That you need one, or it's automatic?
No, that the older you get, the more you don't care if you're rejected. Been there, done that.
Yeah, well, because we've had the hard knocks already. You know, a lot of people have been through divorces or job losses, or you know, the sad side of life where people pass away and that. So we've done the hard yards. We've been through the tough times. So you can take these things on board and just ducks off the water's back, so to speak. So I didn't say that right, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you know, you just make it happen, and it's still hard though. I talk about a lot in my podcast about the ups and downs for actors, and when you have your ups, it's great, but when you have the downs, you doubt yourself and say, am I wasting my time? Am I not getting certain things because I suck? You know, it's still tough. It's still tough on your mental health and your mindset, so to speak. You've got to find and develop ways of pushing through those moments and just keep on going on.
Well, what I imagine must help you is the fact that you're not just a civil servant and an actor, you're also a bodybuilder?
Yeah, I've been a bodybuilder since I was about 16, and on and off. It's one of those things that I'm doing it. It looks like it's coming in every 10 years now. So I got back on stage when I turned 40, so about the same time as my acting career started. And I'm just about to jump back on stage next year again when I turn 50. So I think that's about as much as my marriage can take, is every 10 years, because a dieting 40-year-old is not a pleasant experience.
And your son as well, he's also a bodybuilder, is he?
He's powerlifting.
Powerlifting, that's right.
Yeah, so he's lifting heavy weights, as I like to say, which he's got me doing, and you would have seen I've just done my first ever powerlifting competition last weekend. So that in 30 odd years of weightlifting, I've never trained like that before, and it's scary putting heavy weights. I mean, I've always trained with weights, it's heavy stuff, but when you do powerlifting, you're talking 1 rep maxes, so you're going for that one lift, and it's tough, and my body's not as young as it used to be now, but I still train like an 18-year-old, so it can be dangerous.
But that's the thing, when you get older, your brain doesn't really catch up with you. I mean, I still think like a 20-year-old, and it shocks me that I find that I'm trying to do things that I can't actually do anymore. I find it difficult, and I'm doing that. Oh.
Isn't it funny? I mean, yeah, I'm just about to turn 50, and you girls would remember too, is when your parents turned 50 and they had their 50 birthdays, you remember looking back and go, oh, they're so old.
Yeah.
But now that we're turning, what's happening to us, I go, I'm not as old as they were when they turned 50, but I don't know what it is.
Exactly. So, David, what would your top tips be for late bloomer actors? You know, people that are at that point in their career where they say they've got a bit of money behind them and think, you know, I've always really wanted to give acting a go, or I'm struggling, what would your top 3 tips be for people who want to break into acting in later life?
Well, number one would be, and not pinching it from the brand, but just do it, because so many people want to, and it's something that has been part of their life their whole time. You know, that as an 18-year-old actress or actor, I love acting, and they used to do it at school, but couldn't do it, and they went away. And as we discussed before, they bring it back up. And, I'm too old now. No, just do it. That would be my number one tip. If you're interested and you want to do it, just get out there and do it. Find a way. Go and do the local amateur theatre, or go and do sign up as an extra like I did, or do some drama classes. Just find a way to learn and develop and just get it done. That would be my first tip for sure. Second tip, I would say treat it professionally, not just as a hobby. If you're going to take it on board, treat it as a business, treat it professionally. It makes it a lot easier to have structure around it, and to weather those storms through there, and to keep doing it. That takes you back to your first point, and to just do it and keep it going. So that's why I say I've treated this professionally from day one when I started it here in Adelaide. I've never had visions to say that I'll be the next Mel Gibson or going to Hollywood, but I've treated it as such, and hence why I do the social media and the marketing and sharing information, and et cetera. So tip number 2, just do it professionally. Take it a bit above a hobby, and that'll keep that impetus up to keep it going, sort of thing. And my third one would be have a good support team, network, whether that's friends or family. Have them know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and hopefully they believe in you and they support you in it. And don't listen to the naysayers, because there's going to be lots of naysayers out there, and lots of negatives and lots of rejection. So you need that support network, someone you can turn to and say, I don't feel happy today, I'm down, and then they can support you, sort of thing. So that would be my top 3 for sure.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because I mean, how do you cope with rejection, like continual rejection, though? Because do you have a top tip about that? Because I think, for some people, and maybe it comes down to desire, I don't know. For some people, they can maybe be quick to walk away because they, I've done this, I'm not getting I'm not getting any feedback, I'm just going to give up. Is it just a case of just being a bit bloody minded and just carrying on regardless?
Definitely, and having an understanding of what you're doing and what you're applying for. Now, a lot of people take an audition that they've got on as a negative if they didn't get the role or didn't get a call back. But getting that audition is a huge thing. It means that someone has looked at your photo or looked at your work and said, you are the person we want. The casting directors bring in a bunch of people. It can be anywhere from 5 to 500 people for one role. But whoever they bring in for a reason. They want you to get the job. So that's what you take away. That's the positive. If you don't get the job, you can't go and say, oh my God, I'm hopeless, I can't do it, which we do. It's a natural thing, and I do it all the time, because acting can come down to the wrong coloured eyes. You ticked every other box, but as a husband playing, they wanted me for a role as a husband. The wife had brown eyes, and we said, we can't have both of them with brown eyes, so you just miss out. It can be that simple and that hard. So you can't take it as a negative. You've got to look at the positives. If you got in the room, you were wanted in the first place. You had something, you've made it, and that's the positive you take away from it. Americans can do 20 or 30 auditions a week, every week, all year, and they'll get 3 or 4 jobs a year. So I can't imagine that must be tough. But getting in the room is the big positive, and that's what you've got to do, and look at it that way.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Yeah, be glad you got in the room to start with. That's quite a big deal. And then, you're just got to sort of roll with it from there, really, haven't you? And
I think it goes across the board for all creatives. It doesn't matter whether you're acting or whether you're a dancer or a singer or a painter or an author. It's tough, because creating something is subjective, and everyone views everything different, and it can take a long time. and you don't know what your audience is. You don't know where your audience is coming from or when it's coming from. So you just have to keep plodding on. If you're doing it and you're enjoying yourself, that's the thing. You got to keep going, and that's what they say to me all the time. While you're enjoying it, keep doing it. It's when you're not enjoying it anymore, then you put your hands up and say, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Talking about enjoyment, we've now come to the part of the interview that Melanie enjoys the most because she's perverted like that. This is the value jam game that we play with our guests on the couch, David. So you have to pull something right out from deep within your heart and soul.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is not really my favourite part because that's quite disrespectful to our guests. My guests are obviously my favourite part of the show.
That's what she says, but she gets her jollies from this part.
I have to get that out of the way because otherwise it sounds really bad. But these cards are lovely. They're special. My special cards because they're soft and silky and they're just like lovely. So I'm going to just have a little moment with my cards. Shuffle my cards.
Just tell David what these cards are about.
And these, it's called Values Jam, and basically written on these cards are a value, and a value is just something that's important to you. Essentially, it could be anything. It could be creativity, it could be family, it could be love, peace, ambition, whatever. So, and then we're just going to ask you about that, so that our audience can connect with you again on a more personal. This is not something you have to think too deeply about. It's the first answer that really comes to your head. But people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, as we all know. And if your values are aligned with your potential clients or casting agents, whoever values, if your values are aligned, they're more likely to look at you a little bit more seriously. So that's why we do it. And it's also good fun as well. Okay, I'm just going to run my finger along my pack of cards, and then you just say stop, and I'll pull a card.
Oh, it's dangerous. Stop.
Okay. What have we got? We have got. Ooh. Okay.
Ooh. Is that a good ooh or a bad ooh?
I know. You never know with Melanie.
We have got leadership.
Ooh.
Okay. Ooh.
That's a ooh from you, David.
Yes.
So, what does leadership mean to you, David? What does it look, feel, and sound like?
Well, it's a good one for me. It's tough because I can't discuss what my real career is, what I do. I've always said public servant, but so leadership for me is about. I like to say a lot of leaders aren't leaders. They manage, but they don't lead, and that's the difference between bosses, whether they're a good manager or a good leader or neither. A leader, in my eyes, is someone that can find themselves in the same boat as their troops, so to speak. If we look at an army analogy, they're willing to dig the same crap, to put up with the same shit, so to speak, and then come out the other end and know what their troops are going through. That, to me, is a leader who looks after their troops and is part of the team, not outside of the team.
Yeah, totally agree with that. What does it sound like?
Sorry, what does it sound
like?
Weird question, yeah.
Yeah.
He hates it.
What does leadership sound like? Sounds like something you want to listen to.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah, that you're not turning off on. So a bad leader won't be listened to. You might be hearing them, but you're not listening.
Yeah.
So a good leader is being listened to.
Yeah. That's deep. I like that. I like that a lot.
Put that one from here.
They told you. It comes from deep within.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but we have some really fantastic answers to these questions, and I love that. I really, really love that, and I think you're absolutely spot on. Coming from a corporate background myself, I'd have to agree with a lot of what you said there.
And I'll sort of add to that just real quick, if I can. leadership isn't about being the boss. Anyone can be a leader as well. So, and it doesn't matter what type of organisation. In acting, for example, there are good leaders within. Whether it doesn't matter where they are. So leadership is all encompassing, and it's not always about position.
No, it's about people, isn't it? Really, the best leaders are the best at people. Understanding people.
I agree with that completely, because I always think, if we suddenly were in the days of the apocalypse, all these so-called leaders that we have at the moment, if you found yourself in the same boat as, say, for argument's sake, Donald Trump, would you literally put your life in his hands? Don't think so.
No.
Paddle as fast as you can the other way. Yes, no, yeah, running after the 4 horsemen. Take me, don't leave me with him.
Please. Definitely.
Oh God! And on that note, I'm afraid we have run out of time. Can you believe it?
Already.
So thank you, David, for joining myself and Julie on the couch. Until next time, we'll see you.